Hi everyone, welcome to Happy to See Me. My name is Erika Casupanan, and this is the podcast that puts the spotlight on the overlooked and underestimated. In this special mini episode, I am speaking with Mae Martin and Sabrina Jalees about friendship. But first, I love to start each episode by sharing something I was happy to see this week. And this week, I went to Queer Cinema Club in Toronto, and I saw the documentary Forbidden Love, The Unashamed Stories of Lesbian Lives. This is a documentary about Canadian lesbian history, and it was first released in 1992, and it still holds up today. Throughout the documentary, it interviews women who were looking for places where openly gay women could gather, and you learn so much about their trailblazing, risk-taking, and the dangers that they ran into just trying to live authentically as themselves. It was something that I was happy to see, and it was also something that was very humbling to see. When I think back to December 30th, 2023, when I made just a fun video and the punchline was, oh, by the way, I realized I was a lesbian, I was so fortunate that the response was positive and people were celebratory and supportive. And then I could go off and continue to live my life either unchanged or changed for the better. And when I look back and learn about this history, I am so grateful to all of the queer people who came before me, who have enabled me to be able to live this life freely and basically free of danger. And I am so humbled and so grateful that I got the chance to check out this documentary at Queer Cinema Club. So what I am humbled and what I am happy to see this week is the rich Canadian lesbian history and all of the steps that needed to be taken so that myself and so many other queer people could live as we do today. Speaking of iconic queer people from Toronto, this week I'm speaking with Mae Martin and Sabrina Jalees. Now, I have been a fan of these comedians for years. You might recognize Mae from their Netflix show Feel Good or their Netflix special SAP. And if you're a millennial from Canada, I bet you know Sabrina Jalees. She was on Video on Trial, and she's since been working as a stand-up comedian and a comedy writer, and she recently was the host of the reality show Farming for Love. The two have been friends for 20 years, and they are releasing a Canadian Audible original podcast called Benefits with Friends. So in this podcast, they cover topics like sex, money, religion, monogamy, and you get to hilariously hear them hash it out within the safety of their best friendship. In today's interview, they talk about what it's like to maintain a friendship for 20 years, what it's like to talk about taboo topics, quote unquote taboo topics, among friends, and Mae and I get to talk about their manifestation powers and what was going on December 30th, 2023. I had so much fun chatting with both of them. So without further ado, this is Mae Martin and Sabrina Jalees. I hope you enjoy it. I'm Erika. It's nice to meet you both. I'm such a fan of both of you.
Okay.
Oh my gosh. Hi.
I had no idea that it was this, Erika. Sabrina, I'm not sure if you're aware of the how iconic this person is.
I'm not, but I'm so jealous. I'm so jealous that you guys know each other.
We don't.
We're just meeting, but I feel like I know you.
Okay. What's happening? What is going on?
Erika is an iconic Survivor winner and also recently came out on the same day that Parvati did.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Erika, congratulations.
Thank you so much. And I have to ask, December 30th, 2023, what was in the air that day?
I know. And yeah, that's crazy. How was the response to your post
It was really positive, but also super overwhelming. I was not expecting it to make international news and to have people sending me links to TMZ, but at least everyone was happy.
Yeah, that's how we felt.
Did a lot of people write you saying, I also want to come out, and now I'm going to?
Well, it was a lot of people who were just really excited because I used to have people write to me saying, oh, I'm so happy to see you're a proud ally of the queer community. And then I would sit there being like, there's a detail that's missing here. So I think a lot of those people were relieved to see that I was more like them than they thought.
Yes.
Yay, cool.
Well, I don't want to make it about me. It's about the two of you and your exciting Canadian Audible original Benefits with Friends. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
So I want to ask you both about friendship because you have a friendship that has lasted a long time. And I feel like you have met in such an unexpected way by being two teenage comedians. So when you met on the comedy scene in Toronto, was it instant friendship or did it take a while to get there?
Well, famously, we when I heard, famously nobody.
It's a famous story. I'm
Yeah,
surprised. Your
I
listeners will
mean,
probably be bored.
this is like famous within our friendship with each other is that we heard about each other and heard that there were other teenage comedians around, and so it was kind of an instant feud, and I wanted to destroy Sabrina, and Sabrina was outraged that I existed, and then
Yeah, I was reading like small town press about Mae being like, not another teen.
yeah,
I gotta crush him.
yeah, and then we did a show together. We met at a show, and then Sabrina pursued my friendship, and I was like kind of aloof for a couple of weeks, and then fully Sabrina prank called my house every night for months, going well, that's an exaggeration, but definitely at least 20
I
times.
called you a lot. But I also, in my defense, this was at a time where it was very vague whether people knew who was calling when you called. So if you called and nobody picked up, to me that was like not even marked on the calendar of calls. But probably it was. You could probably see that it was me.
My mom would pick up, and then she'd go, and Sabrina would go, "I'm a Martian," and my mom would be like, "It's that girl again calling." Yeah.
So after all these prank calls, what was the moment where you thought, okay, now we're friends, we're doing this?
I don't remember. I just know we were both always hanging out at this comedy club after school, and we were both obsessed with the comedians there, and particularly this comedian Carolyn Taylor, who we're still friends with. Who we just were obsessed with her. She was so funny, and I think the fact that she liked both of us, we were like, okay, we can now like each other.
I mean, probably my answer was like the minute I started calling you, I was like, that's my best friend.
So over the 20 years, was the friendship always really tight knit, or did you have moments where you would drift apart? And then how do you get back together after you've drifted apart?
That's one of the things we talk about a lot on the podcast, is how much we value that in our friendship. There's periods where, because we haven't always lived in the same city, like I lived in England for 12 years, and the friendships that really have endured are the people who don't get mad at me if I'm busy or on a different time zone for a week, and vice versa. So yeah, we've definitely had periods where we haven't seen each other as much, but I think like we went through a lot as teens, and I've just felt like Sabrina was like family from when I was about 20, and I got kicked out of my house when I was a teenager, and Sabrina would bring me like boxes of cereal and food to my weird scuzzy apartments, and just like was so sweet to me. So I've always, once someone's like family in your mind, you just know you're in it for the long haul, I think.
Yeah, I think the very first episode of the podcast is about friendship. And I think that where a lot of people go wrong is attributing all sorts of loaded judgment to where your friend is at or not at in your life. I think most friendships, I mean, I think when it first ignited and we were teens, we had all this time to spend together. And as you know, you develop other friendships, or you physically are not even in the same country, to attribute like anger to a shift in the season of the friendship is where I think a lot of friends just sort of lose each other. Whereas with Mae and I've got a tracker on Mae, to be honest, so I'm not really worried about where they are or not. I always have it on my phone. It's a little blue dot.
I was able to listen to the first few episodes, and it's very clear that friends don't have to see eye to eye on everything, and you can still have that close friendship. And when looking at your show, you're talking about topics like parenting, kink, religion. Was there a topic that you were most nervous to talk to each other about, or you knew we're not going to be on the same page about this one?
Well, I knew that with money, for instance, I know that Sabrina is just amazing with money, and I am truly awful with it. So I knew that was going to be funny and interesting. But I think the big one was monogamy and commitment. That I knew we had like comedically different stances, just even like in our stand-up and stuff, the way we talk about it is different. And then as we got into it, it was like, oh wow, no, we really have different, like we're coming at this from a totally different angle. But I think
yes, I remember my face was getting hot, and I didn't plan for my face to start getting hot.
yeah, same. And I was making noises like, oh God. And then by the end,
yes,
at the end of the episode, We
There
reached,
is some. We reached a good place.
look,
which
she's about
was-
to get
No.
mad.
The physical
Well-
discomfort is back.
No, it's just Mae's now in a monogamous relationship, and so all is right in the world.
That doesn't mean that my philosophical stance on non-monogamy has shifted. I still think it works for some people.
Exactly, just not if you're not a gay man.
Oh my God, this is no. Oh my
And
God.
some straight people, but nobody at Dinah Shore.
Oh my God. I so strongly disagree.
Were there any topics or any episodes where you learned something new or something surprised you about the other person?
Yes, I think
For sure.
yeah, right? Like we feel like we've talked about everything, but then in having focused time to sit across from each other and get deep and definitely there's an episode about shame and that was interesting and
Yeah, also that the stories sometimes, because we've known each other for so long. Mae brought up that when we were teenagers, I told them that if they didn't stop smoking cigarettes, I wouldn't be their friend anymore, which is like such a weird cartoonish thing. But then having the time to actually like unpack that and question why it is that I felt like I was trying to express like love, but it was this weird control thing. And just kind of like getting deeper into the parts of us that make us us was super interesting.
yeah, I mean, I guess like if couples go to couples therapy and they invent, but with friends, you rarely do sit down and like hash things out. Not that we have tons of like beef or buried stuff. We really do not. But having that time allocated, like we spent like a week in this little room just getting really deep, and yeah, so
Yeah,
some
a lot of
reveals.
these topics that you would talk about, normally they'd be things that you would hash out with a romantic partner or partners, depending on if you're monogamous or non-monogamous. I'll be inclusive of Mae's stance.
I'm inclusive of Mae's stance as well.
How is it different to talk about these things with a friend versus a romantic partner?
One thing I've been thinking about is when you're talking to a romantic partner, every kind of flaw of theirs or disagreement carries so much weight because it affects your life as well. So it's really hard to be objective and everything. Yeah. And so, but with a friend, often you can afford them a lot more grace and patience because their choice at the end of the day, they're going to go back to their house and you're in your house, and you know what I mean? So you can, I think, yeah, you can get past your own kind of emotional triggers easier with a friend.
Yeah, there's also, I think, a romantic relationship, because of the intimacy of it, the characters that you create for each other, I guess off of what Mae is saying, they can be a little bit more. I find a lot of in my couples therapy with my wife, it's undoing some of the thoughts of like, well, my family does it this way, but you do it that way, and my way is the right way. So you do it the wrong way. And with friendship, there is more of a casual, it's like the different ways that we think about things are less of an affront, unless we're talking about polyamory, which again, now I am remembering where I got to at the end of the episode, which was a cool guy that says, everybody do what you want and not so forceful.
It's so clear when you listen into the episodes that, yeah, there's this element of safety where you can, it sounds like you both feel safer just throwing something out there and seeing what happens versus having a more serious conversation with a romantic partner. So there are 10 episodes. If you could do an 11th episode, what would you want that topic to be?
Oh, I love that.
Vacations.
Ooh.
Right?
Yeah,
And then we would go on a vacation to go research it.
Yeah, good idea. I like that. Yeah. Yeah, I like that. Maybe like creativity, maybe. But yeah, vacations would be good.
Maybe we could read the same book, like that book Letting Go that I posted. Shauna was reading on Instagram the other day, and everyone wrote me being like, it's so good. And then I wrote to them being like, I know, but I haven't read it. But if we read, do you like that book?
Book club would be great. No, I want to read that. I'd like to talk to you about reality TV. You hosted an amazing reality dating show, and I am obsessed with competition reality TV, so we could get deep into that.
Yeah. The characters of reality TV I'd love to talk about.
Yeah.
Oh, that one hits home for me a lot.
Yes, yeah.
But even with the work you do, I mean, let me fangirl for a second for both of you because I'm such a fan of what you both contribute. Where Sabrina, I remember watching you growing up on Video on Trial and thinking, this is a woman with darker skin and darker hair who is silly and on TV. This is like really cool for me. And then Mae, back in the day, not too long ago, I watched Feel Good, and the character of Georgia, and for anyone listening who hasn't watched Feel Good yet, check it out on Netflix. Georgia is Mae's love interest who is navigating her first queer relationship. I remember watching it and thinking, I see myself in Georgia in an aspirational way, and I don't know why. So let me talk to my therapist about this. So I got something out of both of your work. What do you want people to get out of this show?
I
that's
think,
so sweet. First of all,
yes, thank you. Yeah.
you.
First of all, thank you. That's so nice. That's why makes it so worthwhile.
And I think also within your question is a bit the answer, where you connecting to these parts of us and feeling a little bit less alone and feeling inspired to be more you, I think is something that we'd love for people to get from the podcast.
Yeah, also we live at such a obviously divided time, and people are, ending friendships because they diverge on different issues and things like that. And so I think anytime you can find common ground is super important and helpful. And then also, just I want less small talk in the world, and I only want people to talk about deep, heavy shit. But I don't know what that says about me, but I think that would be great if we could get rid of small talk.
Yeah, skip right to, like, you sit at an airport bar and you immediately are like, what are you ashamed of?
Yeah.
Like, where you even go, where are you going? Do you have kids? Just what makes you horny?
An amazing icebreaker for sure.
Yes.
Well, speaking of things that we want, I can't end this without asking Mae. Back on May 15th, 2020, when you tweeted, I love Parvati and Boston Rob from Survivor so much that I just cried about it, but nobody in England knows what I'm talking about. Were you aware that you were such a good manifester?
No, in a way, I'm terrified of my own power there. I can't believe that. I didn't remember doing that tweet. I guess I was watching season 40 of Survivor in England, and then I was reminded of it because I guess Parvati's sister came to see me do stand-up, and then wanted to make sure I wasn't a creep, because wanted to sort of and then Googled and found that tweet, and it's humiliating, but I stand by it. I love Parvati and Boston Rob deeply. I did an escape room with both of them earlier in the year, and it was truly a life goal.
Well, congratulations on that life goal. Congratulations on benefits with friends. And I can't wait to check out the rest of the episodes.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Erika.
Thank you both so much. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Benefits with Friends is a Canadian Audible original. It'll be available on audible.ca starting February 7th. So now, time for a listener question. Someone had asked me about TV shows that I was watching, and I think that they were focused on reality TV shows. And I actually haven't been watching a lot of reality TV lately. I've been really into catching up on the scripted shows that I should have been watching before. So the question is, what are the TV shows you are watching? So in my attempt to catch up on all of the amazing stuff that's out there, I recently finished The Bear. And as a Torontonian, seeing Maddie Matheson on screen and seeing Maddie Matheson winning Emmys and Golden Globes, it is so satisfying. And I met him years ago. I was working on a marketing campaign and he was in it, and we talked briefly, and he was just the sweetest guy. And I'm so happy for all of his success. And that show, awesome. High stress, so much heart, hilarious, amazing what they do in the 20-something minutes they have for each episode. I also just finished watching The Last of Us. I was a bit apprehensive about that one, to be honest, because I had watched so many seasons of The Walking Dead. I felt like after a few seasons, it became the same thing over and over again. So I thought, is this going to be another zombie show? But The Last of Us is so beautifully written. That's the best way I can describe it. Each episode and the storylines that they developed within each episode and with each character, I feel like I get to know so deeply some of these people and their motivations and how much of a gray area it is to live in this post-apocalyptic world. So I loved The Last of Us. I cannot wait for the next season. In terms of something more recent, I just finished The Brother Son on Netflix. And this was one I thought the premise was just so funny, where there's this family that is the top organized crime family, yet there's a son and the mother that have been living abroad, and the son doesn't realize that his family is involved in all this organized crime. And his main thing is he's trying to keep it a secret from his mom that he didn't pay his tuition so he could take improv class. And then eventually the violence and then the drama of the family makes its way to this other son, and he finds out what he didn't realize was the truth of his world and his family the whole time. And I had such a blast watching that one. And then in terms of a happy, chill rewatch, I've been rewatching The Good Place, and it's still as laugh out loud funny as before. So that's what I'm watching right now. If you have recommendations for what I should check out that's scripted, let me know in the comments. But thank you so much for tuning in to this special mini episode. If you haven't already, please subscribe, rate, and review the podcast wherever you get your podcasts. And make sure to follow the podcast on YouTube and on Instagram. It's at Happy to See Me Pod. Thanks for being here this week, and I will be happy to see you next Monday.